Spring is fun. Almost. Just wanted to talk about cycles and the soul and how the soul must go on. So I really think it's quite an obvious thing that nothing can come from nothing. So it actually seems to me more logical that the soul will go on rather than there being nothing, in some form or another. So yeah, it really annoys me when people who believe in science will be so adamant that there is no kind of life after death and that there's just nothing, because even if you believe in the Big Bang Theory, which I'm not saying I don't, but where did the gases come from in the first place and what are they expanding into? So I think these are questions which will always fail to be answered, really, I think, because there's always going to be another question, even if you think you know the answer to what it expands into, well, where did that come from and where did that come from? So actually a lot of the very good scientists over the years and famous scientists have had belief and have often in fact been quite religious. So those two things can in fact go together. I don't think it has to mean that if you trust the science and believe in science that you can't also have belief in something else, something higher, a higher power of some kind. So yeah, just wanted to say a little bit about that, and also how, going off the evidence, as far as I'm aware, there has never been a person who is a believer in whatever God or whatever religion. I've never heard of anyone who's a believer that has then had a near-death experience, where they've actually been declared dead maybe for a small amount of time. I've never heard of anyone coming back and saying, oh my God, I was wrong, like there is no God, there is just nothing. That is pretty much unheard of as far as I'm aware. Whereas what is quite common is many, many stories of people who've had no faith at all. Even there was a story of a surgeon who, was always very adamant, I know, they think they're kind of God, but they think they know everything. And they're very, adamant that there cannot be anything after. And then something had happened, he'd been in a car crash or something, and he'd been declared dead, and then they'd managed to somehow resurrect him. And he had then totally changed his mind and declared that there was, definitely some kind of God, whatever that may be. So not necessarily a guy sat up there with a long beard planning everyone's lives, but some kind of afterlife and spiritual life. And in fact a lot of people say the same thing. They say they experience this sensation of bliss and love and peace and all the things that everybody would like to feel, so that's nice, isn't it? So if you've lost anyone recently, like I've lost my uncle recently, then you know that they're probably in a nicer place and they're